One of the most frequently asked questions that I have is, what can I do, or can I on my own improve my relationship? So that's what we're going to talk about today. Hi, I'm Allison Velez, and welcome to my Winning Your Relationship Game channel. My goal is always to give you strategies and actionable tips that you can take to create a relationship that you love. So can I improve my relationship? In short, yes, you can. I've been a counselor for over 25 years now, so I've often been dumbfounded at how a couple that previously was very loving can suddenly be cruel to each other. I've seen terrible meltdowns where they intentionally insult each other, disrespect each other, or belittle each other in all kinds of ways. Most of the people that I work with in relationship begin that relationship with a level of hope and love and commitment that they think is going to carry them through for at least a foreseeable future, but usually for many, many years beyond that. So sometimes several years later, when they end up in my office, they can't carry on a civil conversation. Now, honestly, often by the time a couple shows up in counseling in my office or wherever, the relationship is doomed already to failure because one partner is mentally already out the door. And for this reason, counseling couples is often frustrating work. Now, most therapy models can be ineffective with working with couples once a week, 1 hour at a time. It's the daily effort that actually makes a difference, though. You can come into an office and have a referee and have someone stop you before emotions get too escalated, but nobody's going to do that for you when you get home. So the skills that are learned in a counseling session really won't work unless you apply them in your day-to-day interactions. So when I talk about winning your relationship game, that means that you've reached a level of happiness that you haven't even dreamed of or you haven't felt in a really long time. So let me begin by telling you that no one can help you but you. Now, it's really common for couples to come into session and they each want to tell me their side and they want me to pick sides, and tell them which one is right and which one is wrong. That's a losing move right there, because if one person is right, then that makes the other person wrong, and that's not going to feel good for that partner. That's going to feel bad. So if you're always constantly wanting to make your partner feel bad, that's not a very winning move for your relationship. I like to break things down in terms of behavior because that is something that we are all in control of for ourselves, right? No one can make us behave in a certain way, and we cannot control other people to act in a certain way. But the problem is, no matter what your partner is or isn't doing, there's no excuse for you to have behavior that is destructive. So if you're trying to change other people, good luck with that. But chances are good that there are some things that you can change that will make a positive difference in your relationship anyway. Now, the way that I think about things, I think that relationships have 3 foundational pillars. If you think about a stool, it needs at least 3 legs, right, to stand up. So relationships rest on 3 foundational pillars, and I call those compassion, communication, and commitment. You've got to have all 3 of those for your relationship to be stable. Now, I like to think about it like that because I can look at those 3 areas and see where a couple might need to focus most of their efforts. You want to go for low-hanging fruit. So if there's a problem with communication, you want to make some rules and things around communication. If you're not being very kind to each other, you might need to develop compassion a little bit more. But a lot of times I'll have people who are very strong in the commitment category, very strong in the compassion category, but then they're really weak in communication. You can look at the areas of your relationship where you think you're not maybe doing your best and work on those first. That'll help you get to a more stable place. Now, development in all of those areas is good, right? But if you have really strong commitment and you have really good communication, but you don't have empathy or kindness with each other, compassion, then your relationship's not going to be very good. On the other hand, if you've got the compassion and the communication, but you're not committed, well, there's going to be problems with that too. you can see that there would be problems if you're weak in any one of the 3 areas. So which one are you the best at? Which one are you the worst at? That might be a good thing to look at to give you an idea of where you need to grow the most. So another philosophy that I have in working with relationships is attachment theory. And I do think that insecure attachment fears are pretty much at the bottom of all of our conflicts within a relationship. And only by owning that responsibility and asking for the reassurance that we need, or being able to provide that to our partner, if that's where it's stemming from, then if we can do that, our relationships will be amazing. Now, I feel like I would be remiss if I didn't talk about like special circumstances in relationships. Those are things like addictions or mental illness, domestic violence, sometimes infidelity. Those things are going to introduce irrationality into any situation. A person who's intoxicated is not thinking straight. Some people with mental illness aren't necessarily thinking straight. So it's difficult to communicate with someone who isn't thinking rationally. If you have one of those situations, you may really need to get professional help, get an intervention, something focused specifically on those kinds of issues. But if you're in an unsafe situation, I urge you to get some outside help immediately. Now, you often hear me say that behaviors win the game, and that's because your reality consists of thoughts, feelings, and behaviors, right? So thoughts and feelings are important, but really behavior is what wins or loses in relationships. And that is 100% under our control. So sometimes we have to address the thoughts and feelings before we can change the behavior. You can't be afraid of that. This is simple, but maybe not easy. The other thing that I really want you to consider is that all things in life occur in cycles, and relationships are no different. So you have closeness, and then you have distance, and it comes back around to closeness. There's the falling in love part, and then there's the settling in, and then there's the conflict part, and then there's the reconciliation part. So every change in stage represents a new set of rules and a new opportunity for you to improve that communication, commitment, and compassion, right? And always, 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 our behaviors during these times can make a stronger or a weaker relationship. Sometimes we read difficult times as the end of a relationship, but it may just be part of a natural stage of moving closer and distancing. Relationships are a system, and the system can't change in one area and be unchanged in the other. Every part impacts the other, just like a machine. So any change you make is going to impact the relationship. So can you improve your relationship? Yes. And if you're not happy with it, you definitely should try. So your action on this video is to look at your relationship and where are you cycling? Are you strong in the commitment, compassion, and communication areas? Which one are you weakest in? That may be the area that you need to work on. Talk to your partner about that. Does he or she see themselves as strong in those areas, or maybe they have a different perception of you? Wouldn't that be interesting to know? Whatever you come up with, that may be an area of behavior for you to focus on and get better at. That's your actionable tip, is to look at that, identify a behavior that you could change to improve the area where you're the weakest, get the low-hanging fruit first, and do that consistently and persistently for at least 90 days before you give it up. Okay? Click subscribe because I've got more videos coming out. If you have any questions or comments, you can email me at allison@allisonvelez.com. Thanks very much.